This build I'd like to show off is Condition Damage Soulbeast. This build is pretty close to the meta version, but to improve simplicity as usual, I've made the rotation loads easier with this dual shortbow variant, while still keeping viable DPS. This would be considered a DPS role, and your job is to damage the boss as much as you can while obeying mechanics. For gear I use full Vipers and with 4 runes of the Nightmare and 2 runes of the Trapper, though if you're lazy or on a budget like I oftentimes am, you can substitute the Nightmare runes for Weaver or Tempest runes. Your goal is to get high condition duration. I use Geomancy and Malice sigils in my shortbows, and the reason you take 2 shortbows and not just 1 is to swap between them to proc the Geomancy sigil. But if you can't afford the double shortbows and 2 of each sigil, you can try using 1 shortbow the entire time with Malice and Bursting sigils, which I haven't tested but would only be a small DPS loss. For consumables, I use Rare Veggie Pizza and Toxic Focusing Crystals for the most Condi DPS. You can use Super Veggie Pizza instead if you're on a budget. For pets, you'll really only want to stay merged with the Juvenile Lynx the entire time, but if your group is struggling with CC, you can bring an Electric Wyvern as the second pet to swap to if you need, but that will be a significant DPS loss. For the traits, I use Skirmishing 1-3-2. You and your pet have a chance to cause bleeds on crits. Gain Fury when swapping weapons. Bleeding you inflict is more dangerous. You have an increased chance to critically hit while attacking from behind or the side. Your damage and condition duration are increased after dodging. Shortbow skills pierce and gain reduced recharge. And their attacks from behind or flanking are improved. Because of these traits, you want to try your hardest to attack from behind or to the side of your target for maximum DPS. In Wilderness Survival, we take 3-2-3, increased vitality and expertise based on a percentage of vitality. You and pet gain protection when dodging. While you're above the health threshold, your strikes inflict poison, and while your pet's above that threshold, its attacks inflict poison. You and your pet recover health while affected by protection. After swapping pets, that's not going to affect you, but your poison damage is increased. That's the important part. And in Soulbeast, we take 2-3-3. Using a beast ability grants you Fury and Quickness. Deal more damage with Fury. When you apply poison, you siphon health. Disabling a foe increases your damage and condition damage. That's important. And lastly, Oppressive Superiority. Deal increased damage to foes who have less health than you, and conditions you apply to foes with less health than you last longer. This is very important. You'll want to stay at high health to make sure you're at a higher percentage than the boss, so your damage and duration of your conditions is increased. For the utility skills, I use We Heal as 1 or Healing Spring, whichever you prefer. Sharpening Stone, which is your most powerful utility. Flame Trap and Viper's Nest. If you need, you can swap out Flame Trap for something else at a small DPS loss, but these are the most damaging utilities. And lastly, One Wolf Pack for the most DPS, though you can definitely take Entangle should you need the Immobilize. For the rotation, you'll just spam all your damaging skills and swap weapons off cooldown, which is what makes this build so easy. Make sure you always stay merged with your links. You can precast Sharpening Stone before the fight because it lasts 30 seconds before it needs to be used, and then continue casting it off cooldown. During the fight, use skills 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, F2, F3, and swap weapons off cooldown, and auto attack in between. Also, because of your shortbow traits, try your best to attack from behind or the side of your enemy, or you may end up losing quite a bit of DPS. And that's about it for the rotation. So as you can see from the chart, 53% of the damage is from bleeds, 23 from poison, 7 from crossfire, which is the auto attack, and 6 from burning, and then the rest of your attacks follow. Now, because this build is just spamming all of your heavy attacks off cooldown, you can use a 1 skill macro, which binds a bunch of your skills to your 1, so you can spam them off cooldown. I have my 1 bounds, my swap weapons, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, your F2 and F3 all bound to your 1, so you can spam them very comfortably off cooldown. And makes your rotation much easier. To recap, this is a very easy build to play with great results. Not much group utility or CC, but great DPS. If you have any comments regarding this build, or any advice to new players playing the build, or if you have your own builds you'd like to share for new players, please leave those in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next raid video. Thanks.